Are you stressed out about your real estate exams? We both passed ours on the very first try. He got a 90, I got an 87, and we thought for sure we would fail.
So if you're wondering how to pass the real estate exam, stick around because we're going to show you exactly how we did it. Hey everybody, it's Brian and Myra from Our Nashville Realtor. So if you're studying for your real estate exams and you're feeling kind of stressed out, don't worry about it. We've actually been there pretty recently ourselves. We've gone through the whole process so we know exactly how you're feeling. We both passed our tests on the very first time. We thought we were going to, both of us thought we were going to fail. And so we've put together a pretty aggressive strategy in order to pass the test, and it works. So there's no real secrets to it, but we did want to share with you our entire strategy, and hopefully it'll help you prepare for yours, knowing that it's not an easy process, but if we can do it, certainly you can, but it doesn't go without the effort. So we want to jump in and kind of walk through our study process, how we prepared ourselves, and honestly, I think we underestimated how much time it was going to take, but I think we really came in and kind of hit home runs.
Yeah.
And even the people at the testing sites both said, "Wow, you guys did really good." After we were for sure going to fail the test. In fact, I had to talk you off a ledge right before the test and assure you that things would go well. So without further ado, let's head into exactly what we did when we went through our study process. So in order to get your license, the first thing that you need to do is you need to take a course. And in each state's going to have their own requirements. So I would suggest checking with their real estate commission to see what the requirement is for your local state. For us in Tennessee, we had 90 total hours of classroom education requirement that we had to take prior to being able to take the real estate exam. So for us, it was a 60-hour and 30-hour. So it was two separate courses that totaled up to the 90 hours, and we had to complete those first.
So in our case, we chose an online course, which worked really well for our lifestyle. It was also during the height of COVID, so just felt like it was best for us.
You also have an option. You can take an in-person course as well, which if you're somebody that does better with in-person instruction, then that might be a good option for you. But for us, we knew that we were going to have to do the self-paced, kind of self-taught thing.
Yeah.
We'll talk a lot more in depth on another video about our experiences with the online course, but just know that's the first thing that we did.
So one thing to keep in mind with these online courses is they do have a expiration date on them, which is something that we were not thinking about. Life kind of got in the way, everything just started happening, and we just put off the course for the longest time. So in our case, our course gave us 6 months to complete the entire thing, and we put it off for 5 months and then realized we should probably do this, logged back on and realized we had about 30 days to complete the entire course, and we were literally on like page 10.
Yeah,
so.
I think we had like 3% of our course. So we don't recommend. That's not a recommendation to wait till the last month. We totally kind of screwed ourselves, and we were kicking ourselves in the butt. So we had to give up our date nights and movie
We had to
nights
give up any free time that we ever had for a whole month.
So we crammed, and you put together a really aggressive schedule.
Yeah.
She basically created a kind of a master schedule, like, okay, each day. And I'm glad you did this, because if you didn't do this, we would have you have to pay extra to keep
renewing.
Yeah, to get your access. Even like 1 week was like $100. It was like
$100 for another week.
Yeah, so don't recommend waiting to the last minute.
No. So we put together a schedule of how to get it done, and we started pretty much studying every chance we got. So there was a portion during the day that we would study, and then there was our entire nights we would study, and we did this straight for an entire month.
And that was like basically our during the day. Now at this time I actually got laid off, so I had a little bit more time from my regular job. I got laid off, and I had a little bit of extra time, which was good. But we basically spent 2 to 3 hours during the 2 hours during the day, and then we would go from like 10 o'clock
10 to 1
a.m. And we are not morning people, so it does kind of wear on you.
Yeah, especially after a month of it straight.
Yeah, and 1 month straight, it does. By week 2, you are completely sick of it. So moral of the story is, take it seriously, spread it out. We would have been a lot more relaxed with it, but thanks to your aggressive scheduling, she did keep us honest. So I commend her for that, because I probably wouldn't have gotten it done. So as part of our course, there was practice tests at the end, and then there was kind of the main test, and you actually had to pass the main test, and they actually reported it to TREC, which is the Tennessee Real Estate Commission. So if you didn't pass it, you actually wouldn't get credit for the course, and you'd have to take it over again, and not interested in going through that again. So we studied and studied and studied for the test, the inside of the test, with test inside
The
of
test
the
to
test.
pass the course.
Yeah, test
Yes.
to pass the course. And then you bought...
we bought the additional practice test. So in our case, with the course that we chose, you could buy just the course and that will give you credit for it, or you can buy the course plus additional practice material to help prepare you for the exam. So we went ahead and did that, and I think that was a really smart decision because we really used those a lot.
Yeah, the second thing we did is we took as many of those practice exams inside of our course as we could. In fact, I think we went through and reviewed them over and over again as part of our study process. So just that re-emphasizing or reiterating or trying to get that learning to sink in. And then we kind of started making note of the areas that we struggled in. And there was a few, like there's a lot of legal terms, and there's a lot of minutia that there's so many definitions that we knew we had to basically do something. So we actually created flashcards too, and that was the second thing. So you wrote down, we had
like a pile that thick of flashcards.
Yeah.
But it really helps when you actually start writing them out, because it just kind of helps instill it in the brain.
Yeah. And then as it'd be like cooking and doing stuff, I would go pull up a flashcard and be like, "What's this?" And she'd be like,
I'm not ready for that.
So it was we were just basically, it got to the point where we were so in, like, you had literally definitions falling out of your ears. They're just constantly looking at definitions. What else did we do?
We bought a book.
We bought a book. Which book was it?
Real estate.
The Real Estate Licensing for Dummies.
For Dummies, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a link below for it. Actually, it was really a good book.
It's really good because for me, when you go through the course, there's just so much information, and I feel like that book kind of consolidates it into something more just what you need to know, what you really need to know. And then if there's something you weren't really understanding, the book really helps break it down in more simple terms. So that way you can really fully understand what they're saying.
And I think just having a second person, quote unquote, explaining it in a different way.
Yeah.
Some of the concepts.
Different view on it. Yeah.
And I think that really helped you.
It really helped me. Yeah. Because there were a few areas where it just wasn't clicking. I wasn't really understanding. So hearing somebody else explain it kind of helped.
Yeah, and I think having, and then it also had some practice exams.
There were a lot. I think there were four really good practice exams in there, and they had like 100 questions each. So you had 400 questions in there that you could just go over and over with.
Yeah, and so just that repetitive, basically we just immerse ourselves in this course material for this period of time, for this month, and actually longer than a month because we had a study process after that. So once we finished the test, the course, and we passed our course tests, we then had a period of time. It was right before Thanksgiving, so we figured we would take a week off. We gave ourselves a week because that pace of going for a whole month straight every single day till 1 a.m, we got burned out.
Yeah.
We got burned out. And so we decided that we were going to give ourselves a week off. We brought some of the course material with us on a family trip I
didn't touch it.
Yeah, I tried to
I
a
didn't
little
touch it
bit.
at all.
Yeah, I felt a little guilty, but we didn't really touch it at all. But we kind of wanted how much time to study for the test?
2 weeks. I wanted 2 full weeks of just straight studying, like really focusing, not just, I'm going to look at the book for 5 minutes here, but like really putting in the work for 2 weeks straight.
And so that would be the first week after the last week of November when we took it, we were targeting mid-December to take it, so we knew we had about 2.
Yeah.
And then we found out that we started interviewing for brokerages at that point in time in between and kind of in anticipation, and then found out that we couldn't, for a couple of personal reasons, we couldn't take the test when we wanted to, so I actually had to move it back a week. So I actually moved mine back to like the week right before Christmas.
Yours was the week before Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, and during that period of time, and you had to go a little later.
Yeah, because his class filled up.
My class filled up. So if you're going to make your appointment to go take your test, make sure you do it in advance online, because the classes or the testing facility fills up really fast. So make sure you do that beforehand. So practice tests. How do we prepare?
Practice tests.
So
practice tests. That is honestly the best way to go about it. When I first started studying, I wasn't sure how much that would really help me. I thought maybe, oh no, I need to read, I need to really study, I need to go over flashcards, definitions. But honestly, the best thing that really helped me was doing questions over and over and over again. I mean, I would find questions in the book, I would find questions that we bought that went along with the course material. I would find questions online, just all the questions. It starts covering all the material, and then you start to learn how they're going to ask you certain questions, and then you start learning the definitions because they're, embedded in the questions. So it all starts to kind of come together at that point.
Yeah, and I remember you freaking out because you were scoring 65.
Oh gosh. The first time, like when we really started, okay, we're going to do all these practice tests now, I was scoring in the 60s on every single one, like 63, 65, 66. Like I could not get a 70.
Yeah, 70's the bar.
You need a 70 to pass
70
here.
Yeah.
And I could not get a 70 to save my life. And I started freaking out.
Because it's pretty defeating when you go through the amount of studying we went through leading up to it to still be scoring basically a failing grade. And you're like, it was like every single test we were taking.
Everyone.
No, I was scoring in like the mid 70s.
He was in the 70s.
So I was like, okay,
passing.
if I like really don't crap the bed, so to speak, I should be okay. But I don't feel comfortable walking in. Like the book we were reading said you should be scoring comfortably in the mid 80s by now.
Comfortably. I'm like, whoa, I'm not.
Like comfortably in the mid 80s by now. And we were like, holy I'm 10 points off that.
She's 20.
Like, yeah, so she's like having little mini freakouts, and I'm like, she's like, well, at least you're scoring in the 70s, and like, so we had a lot of little mini snippy arguments with each other about how we were going to pass the test, and I think it was just like once you start so you take all 10 of these tests, right, all these 10 of these practice tests, and then what? We do it again.
Then you do it again, and you do it again. You do it over and over.
We must have taken these practice exams, all like 10 of these samples that we had, at least 3 times each fully.
Yeah.
So we probably took 30 or 40 practice exams plus questions online. The moral of the story is that it's the repetitive looking for questions that you will be. The idea that I thought of is when we go into the test, I want to be exposed to as many questions as possible so that nothing I see on the test I'm going to go, I never saw this before.
Yeah.
So I want to at least have seen it. And even if I knew that I could, like, so there's 100 or 90 questions or something like that on the test itself. You can still miss like 25 of them and still be good. So that's actually a pretty, like, there's a lot of wiggle room there. But you still want to be exposed to. So don't get super hung up on having to get a perfect score.
Yeah,
because
but
we certainly weren't.
When you get them wrong, because I was getting in the 60s, and you go through and you check why you got them wrong, they explain everything about why it's wrong. And then in most cases, they'll explain why the other answers aren't wrong and why the answer that is correct is correct. So you kind of start learning, I can't choose this because it's this, and this is obviously this answer, because now you know it gives you all the definitions and everything you need to know. So I actually liked when I got some wrong because it helped me learn, especially the questions where I was like, I don't know, I'm just going to guess. That was honestly really good to get those wrong because it really helped me learn.
Yeah, and then I think we also used the book, and we actually got locked out of our course after we passed it.
That's another thing. Yeah, you get locked out of the course.
If you don't do it in 6 months. If you
don't do it in 6 months. So because we crammed it all within 1 month, we finished on the last day. We did. We took the final test and got finished on the last day. But we hadn't taken the actual like Tennessee exam yet. but we don't have that material to review anymore because
Got
our
locked out of
course
it.
locks you out. Yeah. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, so we didn't have any of the course material to review. So we're like, oh man, we're only going, like, we really hope this book for dummies is really going to cover it all, because that's literally the only thing we had to go with. So we just had that plus like practice exams.
Yeah.
So we were, that's kind of all we had. So if I felt a little bit naked in that regard. It would have been nice to have the course material.
And we lost all the material for state.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of it.
Because there's no dummy book for the state.
So we didn't. Yeah.
So we're like.
Yeah. So we sat down. The only way that we could study for our state prep to get ready for the state exam was to take practice exams.
Practice exams, yeah.
Yeah, that we bought as part of our course, but it was a separate login, so we could get into those still. Yeah. So that was a little disconcerting going, and I just told her after, like, we had studied so much that I was just like, listen, like, my brain can't physically hold any more information, so it's like whatever it is. And I remember the night before my exam, getting a little nervous, going like, oh, I'm just not feeling good. Like, I would take another practice exam and I was scoring in the 70s still. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe after all of this I'm still in the 70s and low 80s. But I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. I have to trust my training. I have to trust my studying and just go into it. And so I went in, and we'll talk about our experiences at the actual test in another video. But basically, I walked out and I got a 90 on the I got a 90 on the national and a 87
on the
87 on the state. And the lady was grading my test. She the lady at the front, she's like, oh wow, somebody. She goes, well, you did really good on this. You did better than most people. And I'm like, I thought, I was for sure I was going to fail. I was like, well, I wasn't for sure. I was feeling not confident walking in there. And then when I left, I was like, I did a little happy dance. She still had another week to go.
I went a week after him, yeah.
So that was a week of...
That was a week of so much anxiety, because he comes back and he's like, oh, I passed with flying colors. And I'm like, I'm still getting a 70. So that was a pretty defeating week. Lots of stress.
Yeah.
But
so she's cramming, and the whole time I'm telling her, you're going to do just fine. You're going to do just fine. Just trust me. And she's getting all mad at me for telling her she's going to do fine. You don't know. You already passed it. It's easy for you to say. So moral of the story is, then you finally went and took the test, and you got...
I got an 87 on the national and an 80 on the state.
And it was the most relieving...
It's so relieving.
Of the whole process took us from the time we actually got really serious to the time we actually had our license, or our past test in hand, I should say, was what?
2 months, probably.
2 total months. Yeah. So that's how we did it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend our way of doing it, because it was a whole lot of cramming. So if you do take the test, or if you do take the course, maybe give yourself... we literally finished our test the night. It was going to expire at midnight. And we finished our last practice like an hour before it was going to expire.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's just repetitive. It's just going through the questions over and over and over again, and you really should be fine. It's like really the practice tests are probably the most important thing that we do.
Yeah.
Practice
tests all the way.
I hope this helps somebody. We are, as we record this, just starting into a real estate journey, doing the husband and wife thing we are with Keller Williams now, here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and she's going to be primary, so you're going to see her face mostly, but we are really excited about the future and really excited about what we're going to accomplish. So we're going to talk about it a lot on this channel, about kind of that journey. But hopefully this video helps you if you're kind of stressed out about the test and all that stuff. Hopefully this video will be of some value to you.
Yeah.
Now, if you are interested in more information about the testing process, hit the subscribe button, give us a like. That helps other people find the information that they're looking for. We're also going to probably talk about our experiences with Keller Williams and how we chose the brokerage that we did and kind of our thought processes behind it as new agents, and just kind of give you a little bit more insight. And then we'll follow along on the journey. Myra's going to be she's in the thick of things right now, so I'm pretty excited about some of the things that are going on there. And we've got some really cool ideas that we're going to try to implement. So follow along, and hopefully we'll see you on a future video.